we're going to walk over here.
And if anybody has any questions, go ahead and jump in. We'll finish our tour, and then you can say go back to one area or the other, and then we'll have questions.
We're up on most of it. This wall here, if Ray steps back, and you can see how tall this wall is. This is day 1 of our training seminar, and we started at 10, and we stopped at 4, and then from here up, we finished today.
So that's
come in here, Ray.
So that's cast in place by hand production with people that are workshopping and learning.
And this is really the most ingenious thing, that we've come across is over here, Ray, you can see where we have our form in for this window roll. We just took it out of that side, and you can see we've got our 2x4 here. We've got our edge form here that we had up here, and then we just pulled it out, and we've already created our window roll starting. We can do a coat of lime plaster and roll that just fine and do a finished coat of clay on it. But we don't have to come in here and cut this herd with a Sawzall and vibrate it back and forth and loosen it up. When you start to do a spray in and you start to rub the walls, we're shaking that herd on that surface, and it's losing its connectivity. It's not as solid as it once was.
Mm-hmm. And so for those of you who saw some of the pictures from the Hondo project that Tim did, there's this beautiful roll in on your window detail. Now, if you wanted a more modern look in architecture and you wanted these lines like this, well, then you could just leave that like that. But what Tim did earlier is these sharp edges, he was just coming in and then tamping them down with a block. And then now you've got that rounded barrel corner that you want. And so you can play with this in your architectural design and get the details that we want. And then we'll have some photos that we post up about those Hondo project windows, and then they'll be the same here. Now talk about your windowsill and then this other rest of this opening.
Okay, on our windowsill here, we're going to put our window in. We're going to bring a piece of 2x8 or 2x10, however long we want to bring our window out. We're going to cut it like this, and then we're going to screw it back here and screw it back there. Our window comes in here. We do a little piece of casing here, and then we bring our lime plaster and we roll it, and where we attach it back here, we cover it up with our plaster so you don't have any screws exposed. We can do those sharp corners, that's an extra detail instead of a roll. We're at about $110 a linear foot to make these nice sharp corners on top of our plaster bit. You know, so doing a nice roll, we can take care of this just fine.
So this is one of those things, if you're an architect or design, or if you're the subcontractor or framer, if you're putting this into a pricing menu, and people have what my folks used to call, champagne taste with a beer budget. And then you say, well, okay, those barrel rolls on the window are this much per linear foot. And they're like, nah, just do the regular casing in there. And it's something that you can put as a menu item in your pricing.
That's so funny you say that, Ray. We refer to it as a caviar appetite on a ramen budget.
There you go.
Another thing about this window, you notice we got a 2x4 and then a 2x6. And people ask me, why do you do that? Well, with this form here, we can get it to slide in just fine. It's kind of tricky. If I had two 2x4s here, I would have to attach another piece of wood for this to attach to. Well, we have a 2x4 and a 2x6. My nailer for my form is already built into the system. My roll is already built into the system. I don't need any extra wood to attach this form to. I don't need to come back and pay somebody to cut this back. We've already created. We've got more windows in the house this size. We're going to take this one over to another window and reuse it.
Yeah. So you're not having to burn through a ton of material doing each and every one of these. You just take it from one to the other as you use it up on there.
Well, Ray, I got a lot of, free market capitalism pressure here. I got to figure out how to buy less stuff and use stuff over and over and over again. It's like our slip forms that we have everywhere. We use those for our foundation. We took the 2x4s off, put different 2x4 configuration on. We use them for the forms. When we get done with them, we're going to take the 2x4s off and use them for the decking on the back porch.
So let's talk a little bit about the slip forms, and then I'm going to slow pan through the grade beams, and then I'll let Tim come in behind me here and just notice the sound of where we were in that room. This is where those slip forms first get used, and this is on the grade beam going all the way around. And then this is what they use to form up, and then this is what they look like just stored over on the edge.
And so you can see here, we've got a little channel that we've developed, and they're attached. So over here on this form, when we add our next one in, it locks in. We've got our 2x4 on edge instead of flat, so we get solid rigidity all the way down that 8 feet. Sure, there's places we have to put screws in. Sometimes they get a little wide, but that's part of the people that are moving the forms up. That's their job to check that distance. We got longer screws that we can go through to kind of suck them in as we go up.
So why don't you grab that one and then show us, just stand it up over here. And then we can show these at the bottom. And then so you start out down at the bottom.
Yep. And
that goes in. You've got this one vertical board is a receiver to it. And then you leapfrog all the way up. And then the last two, you need to, instead of leapfrogging one over the other, you just scoot one up and then scoot the next one up. But you can see how that joins and supports. And if you've ever gone to a workshop and you've ever had to be the one in charge of forms, spacing these is a pain in the butt. And then moving these is a pain. And then now you don't have these afterwards, because tell us what you're going to do with them at the end of their life.
We're going to use them for the decking on the back porch. But since we got this rigidity, we're able to go from 5/8 inch or 3/4 inch material down to 1/2 inch material.
Lighter weight.
Lighter weight, less cost. You know, we don't do 24 inch. We cut them at 16. We still get 3 cuts out of it, but they're lighter weight, easier to move. We're going to take them apart and use them for a multiple of different things. What's really neat is that you see the top one goes all the way up to the bottom of the rafters, and you see above this door, we did this first week. We did that today. We brought it up to the top. Then we're going to do our wood tongue and groove ceiling. Then we're going to blow in 18 inches of blown-in cellulose on top of it. I would love to have a blown and heard insulation product, okay?
Yep.
That was cost competitive in the marketplace, you know?
Baby steps. No.